Hey guys, so if you've seen my collection video and follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm currently in the process of rereading Bleach. Because I've never actually finished it, and I think it's finally time. Whether I love it or hate it, I just want to get it over with. I want to close off this chapter in my life where I don't know how Bleach ends. So I have been making some pretty good pace, and last night I finished reading the Soul Society arc, which is the second arc of the series, but it's really the first major one. So first off, for those who don't know, I am going to tell you a little bit about my history with this series. I was around 15 or so when I started watching anime, a bit later than a lot of people. And when I first started, I was just getting some, the really big popular series out of the way. I really wanted to start a series like One Piece or Naruto, but to me, the one that had the most appeal was Bleach, in both its art style and its concept. So I started watching the anime for Bleach, and I absolutely fell in love with it. Man, those were the days when I was still in school, and I would come home and I'd just watch 3 episodes of Bleach. Wow, beautiful. But I didn't actually get very far in the grand scheme of things. I only watched about 40 episodes, because I'm pretty sure at this point I was getting pretty busy with exams or some shit. So I put Bleach on hold and I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna read the manga, because at this point I had started reading manga too. I'm like, manga most of the time is way better. I think later on down the road I'll pick up those juicy Bleach box sets and then we can start over. Which is exactly what I did. A year later, I started this channel up and I was able to get the first Bleach box set. And I got to experience all that shit again, actually finish the Soul Society arc this time. And then this happened years ago, but I actually did make a review of the Soul Society arc, which is still there. It came out in 2015, you can still go watch it. But don't actually, this will be a much better video. But anyway, so after that, I was very excited to read more of Bleach. And yeah, I ended up reading up to 48, and I'm like, man! Oh, I mean, it wasn't bad, but they really let themselves go. So going back to Bleach, I was really interested to see what I would think of it, because since those years ago, when I first experienced Bleach, my tastes have evolved quite a bit. And most of the series I experienced back then, I don't really like as much as I used to. I have to say, after reading this part of Bleach a few years later, I still fucking love it. But I was really surprised that the first arc of the series, the Substitute Shinigami arc, it's only a few volumes long. It's got more of a slice of life, monster of the week type vibe, where we got, Ichigo and his friends, and they're, just always dealing with the hollows that just show up. I like that part a lot more than I used to. I mean, the story gets a lot more complex later on, we get a lot more awesome characters later on, and of course the art gets much better later on. But what we have with these first few volumes, it is just so much fun. I've never really been a huge fan of Ichigo, but this is the part of the series where I think he is the most likable, and all of the supporting cast is just fantastic. Rukia is a great character, so are a lot of his friends, despite anything that may happen later in the series. I love his family, his dad and his sisters, that was awesome. And there's just so many memorable parts. The part where they go visit his mother's grave, and the part with the Leak Spin, classic vintage 2006 meme. And you can just tell that Kubo loved drawing Bleach. Every single page just has such energy. It's really cool. Even though the art gets much better later on, you can enjoy early Bleach by just looking at it. But of course, this doesn't last forever. This big Minos Grande dude shows up, Ichigo slices him, and then I guess you can say the real story of Bleach begins, as Rukia is taken back to the Soul Society, set to be executed for breaking the law, and now Ichigo and his friends have to go after her. Now, because I was enjoying the first few volumes so much, I actually found myself getting a bit disappointed, because we were saying goodbye to all of this. We were saying goodbye to everything that happened before. We were saying goodbye to a lot of great characters, just a lot of memorable scenarios, and we were going full shonen battle manga, protect my Nakama power-ups every volume. Because that's the type of storytelling that I've really grown distant from in the past. I never used to mind it, but now I'm not too big on it. But most of my disappointment faded after I kept reading and realized, you know what? Who gives a shit? This is still fucking awesome. As we get into this arc, I do want to talk about a few of the problems I had first, just to get those out of the way. Like I said, this is very, very much a shonen battle manga. I don't know how many times the characters get beaten to near death and then they are fine. Just a few chapters later, they either you rest for a bit, have some healing magic, or get a friendship power-up. Okay, they don't actually use friendship power-ups, let's not put it on that level. But it can sometimes feel a bit ridiculous, where it goes from Ichigo, who's just getting used to his new powers. You see, when he first goes up against Renji and Byakuya, they kick his ass. He stands no chance. But then just a couple weeks later, he's stronger than Byakuya. Like, this power scaling stuff for me, I'm really not a huge fan of it. I will give Bleach this though, they do a pretty good job explaining everything, but personally I just find this stuff a bit silly. Another thing, not really a huge problem in this arc, but I think it does become a problem a bit later, is that Kubo just introduces us to so many new characters in this arc. A lot of them are really cool and really memorable, but I feel like this kind of hurt the series in the long run, because now we have like 13 captains and all their assistant captains. Just all of these characters are important people now, and we have to spend time focusing on each and every single one. But that wasn't really a problem with this arc. There's also a few details about the world that I'm a bit confused on, and I can't remember if they get explained later, or maybe they'll be explained in the parts I haven't read yet. But there's a lot I still don't know about this world, and I feel like I kind of should. So, like, you die, you go to the Soul Society, and then you still age, so, like, eventually will you die of old age in the Soul Society? And, like, is the Soul Society just for Japan? If it was for the whole world, it seems like it would need to be a lot bigger. Do other places have soul societies? I don't know, man. A lot of this stuff, I just say, listen, you're thinking too much about it. Just enjoy it. Because everything else in this arc, peak. If you're gonna do a cliche shonen story, this is how you do it. Kubo is such a talented artist, and he puts it on display in every single fight scene. Just everything looks great, and I love how creative he makes these sword fights. Just the concept of Zanpakutos, how everyone has a sword, but each sword is different. It not only does it look different, but it has a different power. And then of course later on he introduces Bankai, which is like an even crazier sword power, to the point where most of the time they're not even fighting with swords, they're fighting with like giant snakes and ice beams and whatever the fuck. And because of the first few volumes, how I ended up really falling in love with a lot of these characters, I was really invested in the story of them saving Rukia, even though of course I've already read it, I knew how it would end. And that leads me into talking about the best part of Soul Society, arguably the best part in all of Bleach. The ending, but more specifically, all the events leading up to the ending. You see most of the Soul Society focuses on Ichigo and his friends trying to save Rukia. But very early on, once we start meeting a lot of these Soul Reapers, who by the way, are all fucking awesome characters. In fact, I do like them quite a bit more than Ichigo and his friends. But we learn there's some sketchy people. We meet Ichimaru, who right away, the first time you see his fucking face, you know, like, oh, this guy's gotta be evil. There's no way he's not evil. But then, everything changes in like volume, I think 12 or 13, when Aizen gets killed. Because this is when you know, oh shit, Ichigo and his friends didn't do this. There is a murderer amongst the Soul Reapers. Something else is going on. This story is much bigger than we think it is. And then, as it progresses, a lot of the Soul Reapers are like, hold on now, what we're doing to Rukia is kind of shitty. She really doesn't deserve to be fucking murdered. So a lot of them end up going rogue and helping Ichigo and his friends. And, you know, eventually they have this big showdown where it's going to be like Ichigo and Byakuya, and you're like, oh, is this it? Is this it? Is this where they're going to save Rukia? But no. Yoruichi, another fantastic character, she shows up and be like, no, Ichigo, we gotta go. No chance here. She, like, stabs him through the gut. Off topic, but it's kind of hilarious how often Ichigo gets, like, stabbed through the gut in this arc. And you see all this stuff with Ichigo is interesting, but you know something else is going to happen. You know it's not this simple. And then when we finally get to the end where Ichigo stops the giant Soul Reaper guillotine, whatever, uses his Bankai and beats Byakuya, you know it's not over. Like, you're left with this really uneasy feeling because there's so many other things going on with all the Soul Reapers, it can't be this simple. Some of the Soul Reapers who are, you know, investigating some things, they go down to see what the Council of Elders or whoever they are, what they're up to. These are the guys, the court who runs the Soul Society, gives all of the orders. And they find out that all of them have been murdered. This is why the Soul Society is held in such high regard. Like, the stuff with Ichigo, that's cool, that's well done. But the ultimate story it tells is so fantastic. That one-page panel with Ichimaru standing behind Momo is one of my favorite single pages in all of manga. As the reader, you don't know what's about to happen, but you know that shit is about to hit the fan. And of course, this is when we find out that Aizen was behind it all. This is such a brilliant twist, because you're always expecting Ichimaru, and yes, Ichimaru was in on it, he's like Aizen's right-hand man, but it was Aizen from the very start. His Zanpakuto power is this like hypnosis shit where he made everyone believe that he was dead, everyone was seeing his dead body, but it was all just an illusion, and it turns out that he was responsible for killing all of these elder guys. He was giving commands to all of the Soul Reapers, one of them being, of course, to capture and kill Rukia, because Urahara hit a thing inside her that can like do all this crazy hollowification, soul reperfusion shit. Like seriously, the volume that this happens is just non-stop revelations, and it's fucking amazing. Like rereading this arc, knowing what happens in the end, seeing all the foreshadowing, it was just so fantastic. And the best part is that Ichigo, he doesn't just get a power up and defeat him. No, that doesn't happen at all. Everyone has already gotten the shit kicked out of him. Aizen just takes the thing out of Rukia. He's like, yeah, peace out, bitches. Now in the long run, maybe it would have been for the better if Ichigo got a power up and the series ended here, but as a standalone story arc, man, it's some good shit. Also, I don't know if anyone's talked about this before, and I don't even know if it was intentional, but I think that giving Aizen a different character design after this is genius. Because not only is he like sort of a new person now, the Sosuke Aizen people knew was all a lie, but I also think it works really well at spoiler-proofing it. Because whereas Bleach is so popular, like you see the main villain Aizen everywhere. So I like how it sort of complements just people who are reading Bleach for the first time that they don't really know any better. It's probably why I was able to stay spoiler-free when I first got into Bleach. So overall, I do think that this part of Bleach is really some of the best stuff Shonen Battle manga has to offer. I do think it has some problems. Again, I'm not really a huge fan of all the power scaling, how all that shit works, but overall I had an absolute blast going back to it. Now I'm going to take a bit of a break, going to finish up Phoenix, get a review out for that, but yeah, then I will be getting back to Bleach. I'm not planning on reviewing any of the other arcs. I will just do a full series review when I'm done the whole thing, but if I do run into things I want to talk a bit more in depth about, then I may actually do like a separate spoiler video on Bleach. But yeah, so with that, thank you all so much for watching. You can leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys soon for the next video.